HR tech should simplify your process, not add to the chaos. But that only happens when you start with strategy, not just software.
But I think it's important to take a step back and think, are we ready? What are we trying to solve here? And are there users? Is our target group, are they ready?
That's Lisa Skinner, Teamtailor CHRO. In this episode that we recorded live at Transform 2025, we dig into how HR and TA leaders can make smarter, more human-centered decisions about technology. Lisa shares how her team uses Teamtailor's own tools, the biggest mistakes she sees companies make when adopting new tech, and her vision for a more inclusive, streamlined, and people-first hiring experience. If you're navigating change, championing candidate experience, or simply trying to make hiring less chaotic and more human, this one's for you. So I'm so excited to be here with you, Lisa, today. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. So exciting.
So before we dive into talking about the future of work, can you tell us a little about your role as a CHRO in Teamtailor?
Absolutely. So I've been with the company for nearly 3 years and an amazing journey. When I joined, we were roughly 200 people and now we are about 500. So me and the team, we are based in Stockholm and supporting all of our locations across the globe doing our best in setting up everything from like compliance, but of course focusing on employee engagement and making sure that everyone is set up for success in order to be the best they can at work.
Must be interesting to be a CHRO for a HR tech company that's like helping other companies in their hiring and all of that they do. Do you guys use your own tools and the processes that you recommend to your clients?
Yes, definitely. It is really, really exciting and challenging as well. And I must say, coming into this space, I worked with HR for a few years, but in other industries. But it's also really cool because there's such an interest from our teams as well, since they're talking so much to all of our customers are in HR and TA. So it's a lot of questions from our teams. They're really curious about what we're doing internally. And of course, using our own products. And it also puts, I guess, higher demands on ourselves because we want to make sure that we use it in the best possible way and know all the features. And then, of course, work really close to our product team. So when there are new features, there's always trainings for us internally, of course, for our sales teams, but also for us. So to make sure that we really use it in the best way.
Cool. So recruitment technology and just HR tech in general is evolving really fast.
Yes.
What are some of the biggest shifts that you think we're going to be seeing in the next few years?
Good question. Of course, AI. Cannot not mention AI. So I think that's big functionality, but also more, I think, user-friendly tools, because I think also with like new generations and I think HR becoming more tech adopters as well, that there are also more requirements. I think back in the days, I mean, all the systems I've used at times, you couldn't be picky because you just had a system and then you just had to work with it regardless of how many clicks it takes you to hire a candidate. So I think like user friendliness and then of course using AI as part of something which I think we will take for granted. I know when I talk to our product team sometimes and ask them about like the future and so on, I think now there's so much focus because AI is still quite new. But I know that they've said to me as well, like in a few years, no one will even think about it because everyone's just going to take it for granted that of course there's going to be like AI built in.
Yeah. And everyone's talking about AI now, but there's so many other things. And what I like about Teamtailor is like, you're not only talking about AI, but you're still talking about automation. You're still talking about analytics and things that are important. Yes, AI is important. Is there anything that new or anything coming in that area? Are you guys still innovating in those areas as well?
No, but definitely. And I think, I mean, all of these small features that also focus a lot on like candidate experience and just, I guess, seamlessly on like the back end where we are internally doing our hiring with all these like small tweaks and so on, which are, again, enhancing the candidate experience. A lot of triggers that make sure that the system works for you. Like if a candidate has been in one stage for too long, then the triggers can help you as well make sure that they move along in the system. So I think things like that might not be visible externally, but that really help, again, focus on the candidate. So candidate and user, I think, are...
still at the forefront of what you guys are doing. So with AI playing a larger role in hiring, there's this debate about how do we balance that with a human touch? Because, everyone's saying AI is going to replace recruiters, it's going to replace everyone. But we know that's not true. At least that's what I believe. How do you balance like that as an HR tech company and just you in general as you're managing your teams?
No, but I think, definitely it's an important question as well. And I think this is one of the biggest changes that's been for us working in recruiting and HR. So I can also understand that it is scary and that some people feel like, okay, if I start using AI too much, am I going to be made redundant because then someone else can do my job? So I can understand that there's a fear of like using the technology and fear of being replaced by AI. But the way I see it, AI should not be your decision maker. That's like, let's put that, let's decide that. But then if you can use AI to improve your process, for example, there's this amazing functionality in Teamtailor where you can have your video interviews transcribed by AI. And I've been doing recruiting since 2001 when I started as a researcher. And anyone who's done recruiting, regardless if it's that many years or less, just that possibility, not having to take notes.
Exactly.
Just being able to like listen and be present in an interview. Just that thing is just amazing. So I try to think about AI, okay, but how can I and the team and any recruiter, what can I do with the time that AI saves? And in that case, if you're talking about an interview, then it's giving another level of experience to the candidate because you're fully present. But then in other functionalities like helping you summarize CVs or helping suggesting suitable candidates or helping you write the job ad, it doesn't mean that you just post a job ad without sort of reflecting. But it's more like it's saving you time to spend your time doing other types of work, like engaging with hiring managers, maybe coaching them on different things or so on. So I see it more as a tool for recruiters to do other types of work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's a lot of the conversations that I've been having today as I've been like talking to everyone here on the floor at Transform. I've been asking them, and people have said what you said, like AI for me is not a decision maker, but I'm seeing it as I can save time with this and all the things that we've always wanted to do as recruiters, because we always have all of these ideas of what we need to do and how to improve our process, but there was no time. Things like you mentioned, having to like remember an interview, because how do you stay engaged with someone on a video interview and take notes and all of that? Now you don't have to worry. For me, that was a game changer when I started using tools like that, because it's like, oh, I can focus on the person, I can focus on the questions and the time that it saves me, because now after an interview, I'm not scrambling to write down everything to remember. I can use it for more strategic type of thing. So that's been the consensus here. And I love that, because if you look online, you'll see recruiters are going away and recruiters are saying, maybe some of our tasks are going away, but we're staying. The companies that really believe in doing this the right way, we're staying around. We're just doing the strategic work that we've always wanted to do.
No, I agree. And you mentioned the analytics function as well, just being able to dive into that and just having that type of conversation as well based on data instead of doing your notes or so on. So there's a lot of opportunity, I think. But then, of course, you should use it with care and respect and really understand how to use it, of course.
So what do you think companies get wrong when adopting new HR tech?
But I think, maybe not having thought about the purpose. Why do we want to get into like HR tech? Sometimes it's my experience is like, okay, we want to because we have to, and maybe not having taken time identifying, okay, but what area? Because if you just look at the whole like employee life cycle, there's systems for like every part, and maybe thinking about, okay, but where are we ready to implement? Is it the initial? Is it onboarding, pre-boarding? Is it the hiring? Is it engagement? What are we trying to solve? So maybe going back to the drawing board and thinking again, what is the major problem? What is our main task? What problem do we need to solve? So I think that's one thing, but then also understanding the readiness in the company. And again, it might be if it's only HR using the tool, then maybe it's one thing, but also trying to think about, okay, but are the users, if you're going to engage hiring managers or any type of manager, are they ready? Is it a good time in the year for them also to learn something new and adopt this tool? Because I think sometimes we in HR, we're so good at just like trying to solve our own challenges and we want to do a project and so on. But I think it's important to take a step back and think, are we ready? What are we trying to solve here? And are there users? Is our target group, are they ready?
Yeah, that's very important because it's like very few of the softwares that we use in HR are only for us.
Exactly.
Most of them we interface with candidates, with hiring managers, with other departments. So it's very important to, are we do we know what we're doing and why we're doing this, why we're getting this, and is everyone else ready for it? Because it can't only be you. And I think that's something that is missed a lot of times, especially like as you're implementing the software. It's on you to bring in the people that need to be part of the implementation.
Exactly.
Like your HR tech vendor can give you suggestions, but they don't know your company. So it's on you to have that plan before you even engage them in an implementation.
No, I agree. And also thinking about like, okay, the rest of the tech stack, because I think in HR, I mean, we maybe just want to be at the forefront and say like, hey, we found this tool, but also think about engage with IT as well and say like, hey, we found this tool. Is it something that would work for us? What do we want to integrate it with? If we're using Slack or any other type of tool, will this work? So it's not like ending up buying 10 different systems, I guess. So that's important.
Which is what happens a lot. And I hear it a lot as I talk to recruiters. And in my own experience, you get to a company. I remember one of the last companies I was in leadership of recruiting, you get in and it doesn't matter how much you ask in an interview. When you get there the first day, you see, wow, you guys have a ton of systems and some overlap with each other. It's like different people within HR are like, oh, I need this, I need this, I need this. And we don't necessarily know like, oh, we could have this tool doing this thing and we don't need all of these different tools.
No, I agree. So we should be better, become, what's the word? More like knowledgeable as buyers as well, I think will help us become more strategic as well.
Yes. If we fast forward 5 years, now let's talk about future, which is something we like to talk about on this podcast. Where do you see hiring going in the next 5 years?
Interesting. So transform 2030. What are we doing then? Good question. But I think, again, a lot of maybe the functionality that are new now is something that we're going to just take for granted. It would be really interesting to see like the D&I perspective as well in recruiting. Is that something that we have solved? Again, is that something now that we don't have to think about? Because if we, like in the job ads and so on, are we able to remove any bias from the process, for example? So that's something we've been talking about as well, I think, for so long. So I hope that that's something that we can just make sure that we just automatically have a really not friendly process, but an inclusive process.
Yeah. I think we've been talking about it for a long time, and I agree with you. I think we kind of like move on to the next thing, but we need to get to a point where, just like you were saying, AI is going to be in the future, something where it's a given. It's like, no one talks about like, oh, our software works on the internet. Well, of course it does. It's like, why would it not?
Exactly. So we have it in an app.
Yeah, exactly. We have to get there with AI, but there's also very important things that we skipped over, I think, that we should really get back to, because especially as we integrate newer technologies like AI and things like that, DEI is still an issue that we're the ones teaching AI what to do. So if we haven't evolved that, that needs to get into something that's a given. Like, why are we even talking about DEI? That's how we do it.
No, I think so. And then something as well. I mean, I'm based in Sweden, but and of course, depending on the job market and so on. But when there is a lot of availability on the market, I think that the candidate experience, it's also something we've talked about for a long time. But again, I'm amazed, like when we hear candidate stories and like people in the network and so on, where they've been like ghosted by companies and so on. I think at some point that also needs to stop. And then again, finding different functionalities in the system where it should be like impossible for you not to get back to a candidate and not give feedback and so on. So I would like to see, that's something I would like to see in the future as well, like an inclusive and a really good candidate experience.
That would be amazing. It's like at some point, because if you've managed recruiting teams, I'm sure you have, as I have, you hear, I didn't mean to ghost this person. They just got lost in the ATS. I would love like wish list item where it's like so apparent, it's impossible to get lost in the ATS, where it's like, okay, ATS is telling you, you have ghosted this candidate. You have not replied to this candidate. Do something. At that point, it's a human choice and not like it got lost, but it does happen. So yeah, I like that future prediction.
Yeah, exactly.
So finally, where can people learn more about Teamtailor and just what you guys are doing?
I guess follow us on LinkedIn. We are a global company, so if you follow us, I mean, you will get a lot of different content from all of our different sort of regions, because there's a lot going on. And I mean, speaking of different sort of trends and so on, I guess there's always kind of similar challenges, but there are also a lot of like local opportunities and local topics. Like in the EU, for example, in Europe, we're going to have like this big pay transparency directive, which of course is very, very close to hiring.
Yeah.
So LinkedIn, you will get a lot of like different local flavors of how Teamtailor is working with the market. We also have a podcast, something to mention, where we invite different guests and really sort of get nerdy on different parts of the hiring process, talk only about sourcing or only about interview questions and so on. I think so. And then it's possible, if you're interested as a candidate, we have a functionality where you can connect with us if there's a job, if you're looking for a new job, or if you're just interested to see what's going on in the company, but there's not a position that suits at the moment, then you can connect, and then you will get notified if anything sort of comes up. So a lot of different ways, I would say.
Yeah. So this has been a lovely conversation. Thank you so much for joining us on the pod today.
It's really great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks to Lisa for being on the show. This is the final episode of Throw Out the Playbook as You Know It. But don't worry, we're not going anywhere. The show is evolving. The next chapter of this show is called Workfluencer, and it's about something bigger. It's about how professionals are using their voice to lead, disrupt, and reshape work from the inside. More on that very soon. If you got something out of this conversation, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more episodes with the professionals redefining how we talk about work. Thanks for listening, and I'll chat with you next week.